Freedom Radio Hour. Live on Capital Radio 91.6 FM.
All right, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Freedom Radio Hour. I'm your host, DJ Adam Cruz, and I'm here with my fantastic co-host right here,
Eddie Nicholas. What up, beautiful people, and welcome to another edition of 91.6 FM, the heartbeat of Sedan and DY Music Radio. We're so glad that you decided to stop by and get a load of what we're talking about. What's going on, Mr. Cruz?
And what a load of discussion it will be. Let us take a moment to let our listeners and our viewers know that the Freedom Radio Hour is here, not only giving you fantastic music, but we're here to be your number one source for music, business, news, and trends from around the globe. That's a lot to say.
Yes, it is.
Anyway, I'm just at the end of this cold. It's weird how it comes up. Anyhow, bear with me, y'all. I just want to take this moment to really talk about some of the latest goings on with streaming wars. We talk about that here. That's because all of these streaming outfits like Tidal, Apple Music, Spotify, Amazon, they're all vying for your dollar. Not once, but every month on a schedule. And everybody switches up that price range. Some say you should spend $20 a month because you get really high quality sound. That's Tidal. Some say, hey, if you buy our little speaker system, you could stream music for as low as $3.99 a month. That's Amazon selling its speaker system. Well, couple of things. Spotify is preparing to go public any day now, but it's dealing with a huge problem. Several things. First thing we've talked about on this show in prior episodes is that Spotify is being sued for the tune of $1.6 billion. Why are they suing? Because music publishers say that Spotify has neglected to pay on digital mechanical royalties for songs that predate 1972. Those are those oldie but goodie gems. Spotify, they are alleging, has not paid on those royalties. So they have been sued for damages regarding that. So Spotify has to really deal with that issue. The other thing that we were talking about was, remember how leading up to this announcement that Spotify was going public, its CEO was spending the majority of the year kind of inflating the numbers. Every time you heard him speak, they added another 10 million subscribers. And now at 2018, they're saying they're at 70 million paid subscribers. Except they are losing money every quarter as they prepare to go public, some reports are saying. They're also saying that Spotify has yet to really deal with the big elephant in the room. What is that big elephant in the room, you might ask? They're saying that Amazon is selling speakers, or it's selling, whatever you want from their website. Apple Music is selling your phones. They too have a competition product to Amazon's Echo speaker. They have supplied what's called a home pod. It's the same thing, a speaker system that they're selling out there in the world, in the market. And it's done fairly well with mixed reviews, because what they fail to tell you is if you bought the home pod from Apple Music, they prohibited you from streaming anything other than the Apple Music service. So let's say maybe you weren't streaming through Apple Music, maybe you were streaming through Spotify. Well, Spotify coincidentally would not work out using the HomePod system. Not compatible. But now there's been some that have figured out a workaround, but it's been creating such a hullabaloo around that because HomePod, like I said, was supposed to be the direct competition to Amazon's Echo speaker. Anyway, so Spotify's saying, look, we have the 70 million paid subscribers. Yeah, we are kind of losing some money, but we're going to be okay. But the big elephant in the room is that while Amazon sells the speaker, Apple's selling phones and such, Spotify's not selling something else with it.
Nothing but
the stream
service.
So they're saying that's the big problem over the long haul, as it prepares to go public. How are you going to contend with a market that includes competitors that sell other things that are making billions of dollars to your fraction of? So I think that's going to be an issue because Spotify, some are alleging, is actually not going to be able to go public, that it's more of a publicity stunt that's actually going wrong.
Oh, trust me, I'm quite sure somebody is sitting up there making design with Spotify specified speakers. I'm sure.
What did you call it? Spotify specified speakers?
Yes,
I love that.
Speakers, yes. SSS.
Yeah. See, Spotify, if you're listening. Yes, because at least they're not selling something else, right? But the other thing that Spotify is not really engaging with enough is the notion that it could be more than music. You see, Tidal has
And
spent...
I am quite sure somebody is sitting in a little room deciding that same thing as we are sitting here talking. Competition is competition. And from what I'm sensing from the conversation we're having about Spotify is going to have to make some direct changes in order to keep up with these major,
Right.
mega monolith companies, of which they are one.
Yeah.
But they are one in a specified area.
Yeah, and also, it's hard enough being a privately owned entity. Now that they're preparing to go public, they'll be publicly traded or publicly owned.
The
which means that
going to want more, and their shareholders are going to want more.
Precisely. And if you aren't able to deliver, meaning you're not addressing that big elephant in the room, Spotify, after a while, your stocks might plummet, in which case Spotify will slowly fade away, and Apple Music, which is not going to be ignored, will continue its race up the trajectory to be the biggest streaming juggernaut in the world. Why? Because they're giving you everything in one. We've been saying that. You can't rely, if you're Spotify, you can't rely on streaming, even if you're Tidal. Tidal has been offering tons in terms of documentary, new podcasts, interesting tidbits.
But nobody wants to pay that $20 for a monthly service. Nobody wants to pay that type of money, because when you sit back and you start looking at your bills.
Yes.
And at the end of the year, you have seen that you have spent X amount, $100 on a service that you sometimes rarely use.
Right, that you have to take account.
You have to take to account.
Let's take a break. When we come back, let's break down more of this music business news right here on the Freedom Radio Hour.
91.6 FM, DWildMusicRadio.com, FreedomRadioHour.com.
Yes. Singer, songwriter, performer, and host Eddie Nicholas debuts his fantastic new album. Released in conjunction with mixtape sessions and Deck Music Imprint, Eddie brings you a 16-track album full of fantastic jams upon jams, perfect for any dance floor. The album includes records like Fall in Love, Goomba, and Groovin'. Check out EddieNicholas.com and TrackSource for his brand new LP.
Freedom Radio Hour. Live on Capital Radio 91.6 FM.
What up, beautiful people, and welcome back to 91.6 FM in the heartbeat of Sedan and D-Wild Music Radio. I'm Eddie Nicholas, and I'm sitting here with my knowledgeable co-host, the one and only Mr.
Adam Cruz. I love that. That was the succinct, real fast one. Every time he gives it to me a little bit sort of a different style. I love it. You're deep in the zone right here on the Freedom Radio Hour. We're your number one source for music, business news, and trends from around the globe. Before we broke, we were talking about sort of what's happening with the latest in the streaming wars. That's a fancy way of saying all of these streaming outfits that vie for your dollar, not just once, but every month, and what that means in the wider world. So we need to talk about Apple Music. We were talking about their wanting to not be ignored, and how Spotify really is the only one kind of left there that's really only selling streams. Even Tidal is not selling anything else but streams. But Tidal is spending a lot of money in original programming. Now they find the latest pop star, like for example Cardi B, has a brand new documentary only available on Tidal. So that's Tidal's claim to fame, right? They're trying to use their celebrity prowess to say we are going to stand the test of time because we're down with all the major celebrities,
and we get to what's happening now.
Yes, exclusively, right? And it's more than just music, which might be a good look, except the very points that are being made are valid, which is Amazon is selling a speaker and a website that you can order anything at any time, a huge delivery service. Apple Music is selling that next whatever phone device, plus their own speaker system, etc., etc. Whereas streaming outfits only have a problem in the new year, because how are they going to compete?
Well, I would say with Tidal, they also have the option of pre-sale on certain tickets and things of that nature. So,
so the tie-in with like a Ticketmaster or Ticketfly, correct. So all that we're going to see, but Apple Music wanted you to know very recently that they have just surpassed 36 million paid subscribers to their business model. And the reason why they're doing that is that it's a direct attack, some are arguing, against Spotify's 70 million. Why? Because the numbers on Spotify's end has always been a little bit flaky. Hence this claim that Spotify is losing money every quarter because the numbers that are real versus what they're advertising is not the same. Do you
think it could be that they're not getting any new subscribers, that the subscribership is basically staying?
No, it seems like they're growing, except it's not growing at the rate that they're promoting. So
Okay.
they're giving this fake, these numbers that are inflated. They're not fake. It's just they're not quite as rapidly. The growth isn't as rapid as they're claiming. Whereas Apple Music is saying, not only do we have 36 million subscribers, we have 36 million paid subscribers. How many of your subscribers are actually paid? Spotify's saying we have 70 million paid, and we have more like 140 monthly active users on our thing. And they're like, wait a minute, that sounds like these numbers are inflated. So this is going to be a big issue coming up. Especially
Because if you had 70 million paid subscribers,
right, you
what
should
are you
be
worried about?
right. Why are the allegations that you're losing money and that the going public idea may not be working out so well? You know, but I think that's kind of what you're going to see in the future is this idea that there's going to be a reckoning, a reconciliation of the books, if you will, between what companies like Spotify advertise as what they're worth, what their subscriber base is versus the reality. Remember, JC had this problem when he bought Tidal, that he had to go through the books
and
and
when he
figure
went
out.
through the books, he saw that things were not accurate as he was informed that it was supposed to be. And I think we're going to start finding out a whole bunch of that stuff when people actually start going and looking over these data internet file books.
Yes.
You know, they're going to find a lot of things have not either been entered or some things have been definitely inflated, especially when you look at the cost. Because, you know, I always have this instance, where are these companies popping up making billions and billions of dollars?
Right. And I also feel this way, and I know nobody's really thinking about it this way, but I couldn't get it out of my head, which was this. In a prior episode, we talked about how one of our biggest retailers in the U.S., Best Buy, was going to be pulling CDs from its shelves. In other words, they're not going to be carrying a lot of that physical goods in terms of music. Why? Because people can order it online, or they prefer to stream the material. But I'm always thinking about the stream counts and all of that in light of net neutrality, how we're giving all of this power again to huge corporations. What I mean is, if we're in this era where streaming will be the juggernaut of the future and that'll be the number one mode of consumption for music, now you're at the mercy of these conglomerates. Only a few of them will exist, and they will continue to consolidate their power. And then net neutrality norms have been put to the wayside, so that transmission for you to enjoy that stream is now going to be jeopardized in some way.
Depending on where you're located.
Yes, and that shouldn't be the case. It shouldn't be this arbitrary thing, which is what you were saying earlier. Like somebody just decides what things cost out of nowhere without any real appreciation of the ramifications for these kinds of things. You know, I don't feel like we talk enough about how these little subtle changes really impact the wider world in a big way.
And impacts the wider world, but at the bottom line, these companies that are doing this, or they're looking at the impact to what is their financial account going to be after the end of their doing whatever their stunts or whatever practices or whatever they're offering. The bottom line is, what is my end result going to be? How much money are we going to get in return for the services that we're giving?
And I feel like that's exactly back to this point about Best Buy. There was a time when the music sections of all stores like Best Buy and the others took up a larger space in the store, and over time they kind of shrunk and they were relegated to a shelf or whatever small little section. And what you're seeing now on the streaming thing is the same thing, I argue. What do I mean? Well, now Tidal and the others, they're not just offering music anymore. Why? Because that's not a workable solution for the long term. So then now they got to spend money. Apple Music is spending $4 billion by 2022 on original programming. They also bought Shazam late last year. That's the recognition app. You know, if you go to most places and you engage that app, more times than not, it'll tell you who the artist is that you're playing or whatever. So Apple Music now owns Shazam. Bought that for $400 million. They're going to incorporate that in their little apps and such, all in one. So we got to be really vigilant.
So with that, is Shazam's name going to be sucked up in all of that stuff too? Or
I don't know.
It was going to be Apple at Shazam or Shazam at Apple, Apple Shazam. Who knows?
Who knows? Let's take a break. When we come back, let's break down some more. I have to tell you something and discuss something in honor of Black History Month. Let's talk about it on the Freedom Radio Hour.
91.6 FM, the heartbeat of Sedan, dwildmusicradio.com, freedomradiohour.com.
Come back with us. Mixtape Sessions is proud to present singer, songwriter, actor, and Mixtape Sessions recording artist Jacqueline Graham. Produced by DJ and label head Adam Cruz, the Jacqueline plea includes Inside My Head and You Showed Me Your Love. Check out Jacqueline Graham and the Jock Queen EP, available to stream everywhere now. Mixtape Sessions, music for the people.
Freedom Radio Hour.
And we're back live on Capital Radio 91.6 FM and on the web at dwildmusicradio.com. You're deep in the zone right here on the Freedom Radio Hour, your number one source for music, business news, and trends from around the globe. I'm sitting here with my fantastic,
fantastic host, Mr. Eddie Nicholas.
Yes,
I'm
indeed.
here in the house.
Forgive me, y'all. All right, so before we broke, we were talking about the latest goings on in the music business news game. But right now, we have to send a very special shout out in honor of Black History Month, and we have to talk about it because it just got settled very recently. So what am I talking about? We have to go way back to 1963. There was a set of music publishers that filed a copyright for the song We Shall Overcome. That song, if you aren't aware, search it out and listen to it. It is an anthem mostly associated with the civil rights era and the movement there. So in 1963, there was a copyright claim made of that song, and it became protected. Over the years, though, there's been a bit of a kerfuffle about songs like We Shall Overcome and others like it because it's so powerful and so well widely known that it starts to be argued whether it should be stripped of its copyright protection and enter the public domain. Public domain, again, is the time when a song is not protected by copyright. Anybody can use it, record it, and release it without getting the clearance from a music publisher.
And I believe Happy Birthday is an example of that.
Yeah, so Happy Birthday is really the most recent example of a song that was once copyright protected and now is in the public domain. Now, just in a recent Friday, they have finally settled and We Shall Overcome has been added to public domain finally. Let me give you the backstory. The backstory here is that, again, in 1963, the set of publishers filed a copyright claim to that song. But a list of writers were credited with the song, including Pete Seeger, who popularized the record. But what happened? What happened was this: Pete Seeger, in a testimony, said, "I'm not claiming to be the person who created the song. It predates me. He said, I remember being a kid, and I heard the song being sung as early as 1947. And what he's talking about are tobacco and food workers that were part of what was called the Negro Union. And so there were members of this union that would sing these sort of songs, We Shall Overcome included. And so Pete Seeger... Protest songs.
Arguing against relations and work conditions.
That's it. And so Pete Seeger wasn't trying to claim the song. He said, I know that I didn't make this. It predates me. So what he was saying is that if there is versions that are older than 1963, then perhaps these music publishers don't actually own the copyright like they're claiming. Okay. Now, the other thing we have to include in this decision is a gentleman by the name of Isaiah Gamboa. He's a musician and a filmmaker who spent years researching that song for a documentary he had been putting together about the song's history. And doing all of this research, a federal judge in New York reviewed Isaiah Gamboa's research along with Pete Seeger's testimony, put those two together, and realized that, in fact, what Mr. Gamboa's deposition laid out was a proper defense for why the song needed to have its copyright stripped, because all these older versions existed of the song
prior to the 1963 version.
Exactly. So it became, okay, so now we know there's older versions, which means that you, music publisher, don't really own that version. Okay, so we got to strip that. The other thing is, what do you do with the $1 million or so that the music publishers earn from that song? And so they had to figure out how they're going to deal with that. But finally, what they did just recently is place that classification on that song. So now it's considered public domain. And it's funny that in honor of Black History Month, we get this solution. So I think it's an important move. I wonder, though, now what's next? Now, we've done the Happy Birthday song, which should have been in the public domain years ago, I argue. Auld Lang Syne. We have to search it out and see which of these songs are still copyright protected, you know? Because I think some of the, when it has the huge implication like this, you know, you have to think about it. I mean, Hillary Rodham Clinton during her campaign had one of these popular song. Later on, you'll never know whether that song has becomes an anthem for the women's movement, or whatever. Anyway, I just thought I want to talk about that in light of Black History Month. That's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Freedom Radio Hour. Definitely make it your business to tune in and check out and stream Mr. Eddie Nicholas's Do You Want to Dance LP, available everywhere now. And of course, check out DJAdamCruz.com for more of my music. Leave a message under everything we're posting at freedomradiohour.com because we'd love to hear from you. And download our free app. That's right, y'all. We have all of our episodes, YouTube episodes, podcasts, and more available at your fingertips for free. Search us out, Freedom Radio Hour, within the Android and iTunes platforms. You can search out Google Play and the App Store. All right, y'all. Have a great weekend and a great week ahead. See you next time.
91.6 FM, the heartbeat of Sedan, and DWAPmusicradio.com and Freedom Radio Hour. Peace and love, y'all. Peace out.